This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Afreilichen Isru Chag. So I want to discuss today what exactly is the concept of Isru Chag. Who decided there's anything special about it? The Ramah does mention that there's a mitzvah to be marbe besuda on Isru Chag. But what is the concept? Yom Tov is over, there's no... let's say when Shabbos is over. Shabbos is over, there's something called Sunday. Sunday is a very nice day, but it has nothing to do with Shabbos. So why the day after Yom Tov? Does it have any connection whatsoever to Yom Tov itself? So I want to start by sharing with you the question of Tosfos Mesachim Kuf Beis Amud Beis, Divrei Hameschal Rav. Tosfos wants to know, on Matzah Yom Tov, do you smell besamim? No, you do not smell besamim. You do not smell besamim. You should not smell besamim. It's not part of the ritual. We do not smell besam Matzah Yom Tov. That would seem to indicate, says Tosfos, does Yom Tov have neshama yisera? No. The whole reason we smell besamim on Matzah Shabbos is because we feel bad that we're losing the neshama yisera. Well, if we don't smell besam Matzah Yom Tov, that means Yom Tov does not have neshama yisera. And yet, says Tosfos, how could it be that Yom Tov does not have neshama yisera? We're all familiar that when Matzah Shabbos goes into Yom Tov, well, what do we do during Kiddush? Yak Nahaz. Yayin, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, Zman. Do we make a bracha besamim? No. Why don't we make a bracha besamim? Oh, because it's Yom Tov. Presumably Yom Tov has neshama yisera. We don't have to smell the besamim. So Iman of Shach, Tosfos has like a chokehold over here. Does Yom Tov have neshama yisera or does Yom Tov not have neshama yisera? If Yom Tov has neshama yisera, you should smell besamim matzah Yom Tov. If Yom Tov does not have neshama yisera, then you need to smell besamim matzah Shabbos going into Yom Tov. That's the kasha of Tosfos. Tosfos gives the following answer: Yom Tov does not have neshama yisera. If Yom Tov doesn't have neshama yisera, why do we not smell besamim matzah Shabbos going into Yom Tov? Well, it says Tosfos, in lieu of besamim, we have Yom Tov, good food. So we don't, instead of smelling the besamim, we have another thing to keep our spirits up, the good food of Yom Tov. That's the answer of Tosfos, but Tosfos seems to say that Yom Tov does not have neshama yisera. We're going to explore a new answer today. Let's try to explain what is the concept of Isru Chag, and maybe a little bit the concept of Yom Tov Sheni Shal Galiyos. The Gemara in Sukkah on Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis says, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Kol ha'oiseh Isser l'chag ba'achila u'shtiya. Anyone who makes an Isser, that doesn't mean a prohibition, it means a binding to the Yom Tov with eating and drinking. Mala olav hakasav, it's considered ke'ilu bana mizbeach, as if you built an altar. V'hikriv alav carbon. Shenemar Isru Chag ba'avoisem, tie to the Yom Tov with chains ad karnas hamizbeach. What is this talking about? Says Rashi, Isser l'chag, aguda l'chag. Tie yourself to the holiday. Ba'achila, eating, ushtiya, and drinking. Shekoirei l'chag oineg, that you call the Yom Tov a delight, b'mai chalav mishnah. According to the first Pshat in Rashi, this has absolutely nothing to do with the day after Yom Tov. It's talking about eating and drinking extra on Yom Tov. Kol ha'oichel, kol ha'oiseh isser l'chag. If you connect yourself to the Yom Tov with extra eating and extra drinking, it's like you built a mizbech and you're mala a carbon on it. So according to the first Pshat in Rashi, there's no makar whatsoever that the day after Yom Tov is anything at all. Isser l'chag means tie yourself to Yom Tov. Now Rashi says that you call Yom Tov oineg. The truth is, there's no mitzvah of oineg on Yom Tov. There's no such thing as oineg Yom Tov. There's oineg Shabbos. There's simchas Yom Tov and oineg Shabbos. And there's a very big nafkamina. Oineg is not a physical sensation. Simcha is. Therefore on Yom Tov we say, Ein simcha ela b'basar v'yayin. But I don't like to eat. I'm in a bad mood. I would prefer not to eat. I would make me happier not to eat. No, there's no such thing. Ein simcha ela b'basar v'yayin. On Shabbos, there's no mitzvah of simcha. There's a mitzvah of oineg. Therefore, if someone has a bad dream on Shabbos, and it gives them greater pleasure to fast to abolish the bad dream, you're allowed to fast on Shabbos. But if someone has a bad dream on Yom Tov, and he would prefer to fast, he's not allowed to fast on Yom Tov. Because on Yom Tov, the mitzvah of simcha. Simcha is eat. On Shabbos, the mitzvah is oineg. Oineg is delight. So for me, it's more subjective. Okay, be it as it may. But if somebody goes out of their way to delight in Yom Tov, then it's considered as if they built a mizbeach and they were makar of a carbon. Rashi says another pshat in Sukkah Mem Amid Beis. It's referring to Yom Shala'achar Chag, the day after Sukkot. Ba'avoisem, behemois, avois, ushmenos. If you eat a fat meal the day after Sukkot, the day after Pesach, it's considered like you built a mizbeach and you were makriv a carbon. So it comes out, according to the second pshat of Rashi, there is a concept of extending the Yom Tov. Not only to enjoy Yom Tov itself, but to make a Suda the day after Yom Tov likewise. And in fact, if you look in the Aruch HaShulchan, Siman Taf Chav Tes Sifhei, Aruch HaShulchan says, what is this concept of rejoicing the day after Yom Tov? Why should you rejoice the day after Yom Tov? It's not Yom Tov anymore. Yom Tov is over. Why should I rejoice the day after Yom Tov? The answer is that, says the Aruch HaShulchan, part of the simcha of Yom Tov, when you're mechaven l'shem shamayim, is in being makriv, karbanos of shalmei simcha, with the kavanos of connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, a carbon shlamim, does anybody know how long do you have to be makriv a carbon, to eat a carbon shlamim? 2 days and a night. Shlamim is nechal l'shnei yom v'layla echad. So then it comes out, if you were makriv a shlamim on the last day of Yom Tov, you could still eat it the day after Yom Tov. Therefore, we extend the Yom Tov because the carbon I was makriv yesterday, I could still eat it on the following day. This is a very chidushtik pshat. And the truth is, Rabbi Glatstein in a Sofer Sarho Elef, Siman Tav Chav Tes of Katandat also mentions that since the shlamim is nechal l'shnei yamim, and probably people were makriv a shlamim every day, so therefore you still have basar, therefore one is not to fast on Isru Chag. And it comes out then, there would be no difference between Isru Chag Pesach, Sukkot, or Shavuos also. Every day of Yom Tov you could be makriv a shlamim. So according to the Aruch HaShulchan and Rabbi Glatstein, the concept of Isru Chag is, it's in the extra day of achila for the carbon shlamim. Okay. In the Sefer Menoras Hamar, in Parak Ches of Kavod Shabbos, he explains the following reason to rejoice the day after Yom Tov. He says like this: for many people, for most people, Yom Tov is very expensive. It's an expense. Weekdays are cheaper than Yom Tov, especially with prices nowadays. A Yom Tov week is going to cost you like 3 or 4 times an average rate. It's very expensive. Even not Pesach, even Sukkot. Just look at the bills. And often Yom Tov is over, and people say, "Okay, now is the time. Now I could stabilize my finances. I could get my life in order. Things are cheaper now. Even matzah is expensive. Daled minim is expensive. Everything costs." Everything costs. And, Baruch Hashem, a person might sense a feeling of relief when Yom Tov is, and even if not a financial relief, many people, they feel that Yom Tov is very taxing, preparing for the Yom Tov, serving, cooking, davening is longer, and a person may mistakenly have a feeling of relief. Oh, Baruch Hashem, Yom Tov is over. And it's sort of like casting away the whole enjoyment of the Yom Tov as if it was a burden. So if a person is mesameach when Yom Tov is over, that shows he's really attached to it. That shows he doesn't want to send it away. And therefore, if somebody celebrates even when Yom Tov is over, it's a way of demonstrating that he's sorry to see it go. He's not throwing it away. Like sometimes, when the bell rings in yeshiva, all of a sudden, 3, 2, 1. So this is a way of showing that a person enjoyed the Yom Tov. Okay. There is an absolutely incredible Chasam Sofer, Parshas Pinchas. He says, Dvarim niflaim ad ma'od. Chasam Sofer writes an idea that the simcha a person has when he does a mitzvah is even more valuable than the mitzvah itself. More valuable than shaking your lulav and esrog is the simcha that a person feels that he's zoicha to be mekayim a mitzvah. The simcha that a person experiences when he does a mitzvah is even more valuable than the mitzvah itself. Not only that, the reward in Shamayim for the simcha for a mitzvah is more reward than for the mitzvah itself. Amazing. The reward Hashem will give a person for the simcha for doing a mitzvah is greater than the mitzvah itself. Therefore, if a person does any mitzvah, the most basic feeling that they should have is, I'm so happy that I could do the mitzvah. Even more valuable than learning in the shiur is being happy that I have the zchus to learn in the shiur. So, therefore, whenever we do a mitzvah, we should rejoice. Really, whenever we do a mitzvah, we should make a suda. So he says an incredible thing. Do you know why in Chutz La'aretz there's Yom Tov Sheni and not in Eretz Yisrael? There's a Chasam Sofer. Because in Eretz Yisrael, so you kept Yom Tov, big deal you kept Yom Tov. It's the Holy Land. It's our territory. It's our property. We're not threatened. We're not in danger. God gave us a Yom Tov. This is our property. This is our territory. Of course we're going to keep a Yom Tov in Eretz Yisrael. So we'll be happy about it. Who cares? It's not a big deal. Not who cares, but it's really not a big deal. But if you live in America, or you live in Europe, or you live in Chutz La'aretz, where you're surrounded by goyim, where it's difficult to keep a Yom Tov, and who says you'll be able to keep the Yom Tov? There's persecution, there's defamation, people look down and people despise it, and yet you fight the tide and your moiser never keep a Yom Tov. You know what kind of zechus it is to keep a Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz? It requires so much simcha, we should probably make a Yom Tov that we were zeicha to keep a Yom Tov. And that's what we do. That's what we do. The concept of Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golus is that if you're Zoicha to keep a Yom Tov in Golus, you're required to make a Yom Tov that you were Zoicha to keep Yom Tov. That's how happy we are about it. It's such a simcha to keep a Yom Tov in Golus, you should probably make a Yom Tov. In Eretz Yisrael, it's not such a big deal. So you know what they do in Eretz Yisrael? They just have an Isru Chag. Okay, so they'll have a little bit of a better lunch the next day. It doesn't require. But in Chutz La'aretz, we have to make a Yom Tov that we were Zocheh to keep Yom Tov, and then after that, we make a little simcha, a Baruch Hashem, we were able to keep the previous day. Don't push it, right? So that's the concept of Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golus. That in Eretz Yisrael, so it comes out, Yom Tov is a bigger simcha in the Golus than it is in Eretz Yisrael, according to the Chasam Sofer. In other words, it's actually a bigger simcha to keep Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz than to keep in Eretz Yisrael. That's the words of the Chasam Sofer. The Bnei Yissaschar in the Sefer Igur de Perka, Ois Reish Chavav. There's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Im ta'iru, es ha'avat shetachbatz. If it would arouse and awaken the love until you desire. But the Ramban in the Sefer Amunah B'Tachan says a pshat, a very important pshat in this pasuk. That often in life we're inspired, we have inspiration, where we feel elevated, but inspiration is fleeting and it dissipates. And if you don't channel your inspiration to something tangible, it will disappear. Im ta'iru es ha'ava. If your inspiration has been aroused, ad shetechbatz. It needs to be placed into a tangible thing. It needs to be concretized. Therefore, we experience a Yom Tov, and we had a lot of inspiration on the Yom Tov. We felt elevated. We felt inspired. We had thoughts of trying to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In order that it doesn't dissipate, so they were koiveya Isru Chag. Tie yourself to the Yom Tov. The day after, make sure you sort of review all the thoughts you had, all the madregos that you've aspired to and perhaps have come into contact with, to try to tie yourself to that and put it into something tangible. Similarly, the Kedushas writes, and it's brought in the Sefer Shas Chutz Bikurei Shloimeh, that on Yom Tov the Yidden are elevated with great Kedusha and they have holy thoughts. And you might think that the weekday will come and everything will be forgotten. So therefore David HaMelech commands us, Isru Chag, tie yourself to the Chag, even during the week, that the days of the week should always be connected and attached to the Yom Tov. Similarly, Rav Simcha Bunami Parshischa, it's brought in the Sefer Siach Sarfei Kodesh, he says like this: any tailors here? Any weavers? Any jewelers?
Henry was
right? A good jeweler knows that you could have a very expensive pearl necklace, or you could have a very expensive garment, but everything depends on that knot at the end that you make that holds everything in place. Because without that knot, all the pearls will fall off. The whole garment will unravel. So the concept in Isru Chag is, it's like a knot, it's a chizuk, it's a kiyum, that all the kedusha of the Yom Tov does not unravel. And Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, in the Halicha Shlomo, explained the concept of Isru Chag. The Gemara Bracha says that one who prays needs to wait an hour after his tefillah, so to speak, to come down to earth, to be able to hold on to the madrigos that a person felt during the tefillah. So too on Isru Chag, it's similar to the concept of before you end the tefillah, al pi the Gemara, you should wait an hour. So before you leave a Yom Tov, you should also have a day of intermediary day. So on that note, the Shem Shmuel writes a very beautiful thought, that the concept of Yom Tov Sheni Shalgaliyos and the concept of Isru Chag, he says as follows, that Yom Tov is a very high day, a very lofty day, a very gehoben day. It's from the light of the Yom Rishon of the Sheshes Yemei Bereishis. That's why it's called Yom Tov. It's from the Ar Haganos. And therefore, you can't just go into a Yom Tov. You need, right, the same way, you can't just go to outer space. You have to prepare your body to become accustomed to the conditions in outer space. So you got to go through a preparatory stage. So too, you can't just go into a Yom Tov. The way we prepare for a Yom Tov, the hachanos of the Yom Tov, is the Kedushas, like the intermediary Kedusha, that we don't just go from weekday straight up to this brilliant light. We initiate ourselves into it through the preparations of Yom Tov. Likewise, you can't just leave Yom Tov and go into the week. You need an Emtsai. So what's the Emtsai? The Emtsai is the Yom Tov Sheni Shalgaliyos in Chutz Aretz. You see, in Eretz Yisrael, where everything is sanctified, we're able to go from Yom Tov because even the weekdays also have some Kedusha, and Isru Chag itself will serve as an intermediary. But in Chutz La'aretz, where the weekday is much more profane, therefore it's necessary to have a slower incubation period, a slower initiation. So we go from Yom Tov to Yom Tov Sheni to Isru Chag to the days of the week. So let's conclude with the following. And this is the idea of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Varditchev, who says that based on this idea we could say differently than Tosfos. Tosfos wanted to say really Yom Tov does not have Neshama Yisera. And so why don't we smell B'samim Matzai Shabbos going into Yom Tov? Because we have the Yom Tov. No, says Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. Really Yom Tov has Kedusha, Neshama Yisera. So why don't we smell B'samim Matzai Yom Tov? So he says a very interesting thing. We know there's a concept of Isru Chag. Why is there Isru Chag and not Isru Shabbos? Why do we have a day after Yom Tov and not a day after Shabbos? The answer is in the secret of the conclusion of the bracha that we say on Shabbos and Yom Tov. On Shabbos we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Mekadesh HaShabbos. Blessed are you, God, who sanctified the Shabbos. Who sanctifies the Shabbos? Hashem sanctifies the Shabbos. Therefore, Shabbos is what is called Kavi V'Kaima. It's established. Shabbos comes, it comes. There's nothing we could do to bring it sooner. We could be moisif on the Shabbos, but that's not a real Shabbos. You're not chayv misa if somebody violates the Tosef of Shabbos. When Shabbos comes, it comes, and when it leaves, it leaves. There's no Isru Shabbos. We didn't make it, and we can't hang on to it. But when on Yom Tov we daven Mekadesh, Yisrael, V'Hazmanim. God sanctified us, and we sanctify the Yom Tov. Through the power of sanctifying the new moon, we're the ones who sanctify the Yom Tov. If you make the Yom Tov, you can hang on to the Yom Tov. That's why when Yom Tov is over, there's a concept of Isru Chag, because since we made the Kedusha, we can hang on to the Kedusha. Therefore, says Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, really Yom Tov has Neshama Yisera. So why don't we smell B'samim Matzah Yom Tov? Because we could still hang on to the Yom Tov a little bit. When Shabbos is over, it's gone. When Yom Tov is over, we don't need to smell B'samim because we could still hang on to the Kedusha of Yom Tov. So we should be Zoicha to hold on to the Kedusha of Yom Tov. L'chol ha'ashana, we should always have Yamim Tovim Li Yisrael Ad Biaskal Tzedek Meher V'Yameinu. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.